She is a girl child that either walks along the road where idle men taunt her. She's surrounded by cousins, uncles, friends, and sometimes fathers. She's sometimes been abused, raped, beaten, battered, and most annoyingly, blamed. Hello and welcome to Africa Today. I am Mike Okwoche. In December 19th, 2011, the United Nations General Assembly adopted Resolution 66/170 to declare October the 11th as the International Day of the Girl Child, to recognize girls' rights and to address the unique challenges girls face around the world. 2 years down the line, can we say anything has changed? Celebrating this year's day, Africa and the rest of the world will focus on innovating for girls' education. Now, too many girls are out of school, living in poverty. Women, young and old, are not safe from harassment, discrimination, and violence. It is not only a matter of injustice, but also of economics and opportunities. Around Africa, a lot of our girl children are not only deprived of basic education, but are sometimes punished for trying to seek one. Now, to her, the school is a gateway to success. She even has a drawing of a desk with books piled so high, labeled university. But the map also details all the things that can distract her from this path. Now, how can we collectively educate the girl child in Africa? Talk to us on Twitter at TVC Africa Today or send an email to africatoday@tvcnews.tv. A reportage on the African girl child in Africa Today. We'll be right back. Welcome on board.
1 in 3 women and girls experience abuse in their lifetime. More than half of sexual assaults are committed against girls under 16 years of age. Globally, more than 1 in 3 young women aged between 20 and 24 years are married before the age of 18. The United Nations has declared October 11 as the International Day of the Girl Child, to focus attention on girls' empowerment and the fulfillment of their human rights. This year's observance targets education through innovation. While there has been significant progress in improving girls' access to education over the last 2 decades, many girls, particularly the most marginalized, continue to be deprived of this basic right. Even when girls are in school, perceived low returns from poor quality of education, low aspirations or household chores and other responsibilities keep them from attending school or from achieving adequate learning outcomes. The transformative potential for girls and societies promised through girls' education is yet to be realized. In Africa and other poor countries in the world, girls are not only deprived of education, they are punished for seeking knowledge. The most famous case is that of Malala Yousafzai, who was shot in the head 1 year ago by Pakistani Taliban for speaking out on the need to educate Pakistani girls. Malala survived and is now a favorite for this year's Nobel Peace Prize. But Malala's story is only one of many. In poor countries worldwide, as well as countries in conflict, girls are deprived of education more often than their brothers. 30 million girls around the world are not in elementary school. If the world works together, maybe in another generation, we won't have to have a special day, because girls worldwide will at last be getting the education, respect and love they deserve. Amina Hamid, Africa Today.
Right, glad to have you back now. A girl, no matter how academically gifted, may be valued only by her ability to do chores. Now, to change the map of a girl's life, much must be done to change the attitude of the child, as well as her parents and even the community. Now, joining us to look at the International Day of the Girl Child in Africa is Dr. Luther King Fashion of the Wellbeing Foundation, an NGO dedicated to promoting the rights of every individual. It's good to have you join us today.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's a pleasure.
All right, and then joining us via phone is Ndi Jobati, a Gambian consultant based in Norway, working for the Norwegian Center for the African Women generally. She'll be joining us on the program later on. Now, let's start it this way. Sexes of children, male and female.
Yes.
Naturally,
Yep.
do you think there are all opportunities available to them, or do you think one is disadvantaged naturally against the other?
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I wouldn't say the disadvantage is a natural one. I would think it's one that has been artificially created.
All right.
You know, by social norms, by traditions, by what people think, what people have learned over the years, and has been passed from generation to generation. But speaking as a doctor from a scientific point of view, there is no basis for a difference in the sexes.
All right.
They're equal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're equal. That's a basic foundation.
Yeah.
But in our society,
Yeah.
how did it come about that some see the girl child as not as equal to the man?
Okay. The reason is because, again, social norms and the maternal view. You know, society tends to, particularly in Africa and Asia, tend to view women from a maternal periscope. She has to be a mother, she has to be a wife, she has to bear children, she has to be the loving wife, she has to do everything maternal. But you see, the truth is, maternity and womanhood are two different things.
Okay.
A woman is more than to be a wife. She should be a wife, no doubt. She should be a mother, no doubt. But she could do other things as well. By the side, she could be a professor. She could be the United Nations Secretary General, right? Until we come out of that view where we only see women in the roles of wives and mothers and domestic roles, then can we change things? That is the issue.
All right. Now, some people have argued that when we talk about the rights of the girls,
Okay.
sometimes,
Okay.
they by themselves see themselves as inadequate sometimes to meeting some obligations, societal obligations,
Yeah.
and so on.
Yeah.
But sometimes the biggest challenge is when you have your own limitations from your mind. What do you think?
Yeah, I think if women have limitations, if girls have limitations, it was forced on them. It was the psyche of the environment in which they grew up. You know, when a woman grows up and a girl is growing up, and a mother tells her, "Look, you can't do that," while your brother can do that. You know, you have to act this way, but your brother can do anyhow. These are the norms they absorb growing up. So it's not, I won't say it's totally their fault, it's the environment. When you put take a lady out of Africa, for instance, rural parts of Africa, she has these norms entrenched in her. She has to go get firewood, you know, from the forest. And you compare that to a lady who grew up in Manhattan, New York, for instance, where she knows that, look, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to Columbia University. I'm going to do this. The same woman, two different places, different upbringing, different psyches. So I don't think women limit themselves. I don't think so. I think society limits them.
All right. So what's the role of culture and tradition? Because this societies you try to make comparison now quite different.
Yeah.
So what's the role of people's culture and their peculiarities in this?
Culture, for me, will be one of the most significant factors. You know, when people grow up in societies where women are supposed to be quiet, you're supposed to be spoken only when spoken to, they will exhibit such tendencies as to make you feel they're limiting themselves. They're not. Society, culture, traditions, social norms, they are one of the most important factors.
Yeah, but if that is quite important, and some of the African tradition, especially when for instance, when there's a gathering of maybe in the village square, for instance, and they're discussing issues. Now, women are certainly not supposed to be the leaders in such kind of society. That's the dictate.
But that's wrong. That's wrong from the bedrock. That's basically wrong,
fine.
Fundamentally.
But that's the tradition. That's the culture of a people.
Yes, that's what.
So how do you reconcile that?
Now, the thing is this, to be honest, the solution to all this is awareness. Increased awareness, increased education, increased information. When people know what is going on, when people know what they have access to, it's not necessarily to threaten anyone or to start a riot. But when a woman knows that, look, she can study, she can get a pen, she can get a book, and she can access education, you're empowering her. You're empowering her family, you're empowering the community, you're empowering the nation. When you educate a woman over time, the GDP of that country rises. When you educate a woman over time, the health of women and men improve. So what are we talking about? We all gain from encouraging women and girls to be educated. The whole world gains it, you know?
All right. Now, in a family setting where you have the mother because some of these things start from that very elementary level where
Yes.
you talked about the fact that they start telling you to do this and your brothers should do that.
Exactly.
But at that level, the family setting where the women or the girls are supposed to do this and the boys are supposed to do that. But there are mothers who are supposed to be aware, even in well-educated families, they still set out some of these differences.
Yes.
So how do we reconcile that?
Yes, that's very correct. You, in a family, the mother could have a PhD, and yet she's still enforcing this. You would relate that to the strength of the social norms. She's educated. She knows what women should do. She knows what ladies, girls should do. But then she's scared that if I over-empower this girl, society might frown at her. If she's over-educated, she might not be able to find a suitable spouse. So yes, you're right. In some instances, even when the mothers, even when the people who lead such niches, right, know and are aware of these things, they are not too forward to let's expose these ladies to more, because they feel, look, this is Africa, this is India, right? If you give her too much of education, she's too outspoken, then there's a problem. But then again, we should talk about these things. It's not always the case. More education is more health. More education is improved economy in the long term, in the medium term. That's the truth.
Okay.
You know?
We'll certainly come back to this. Now, despite Africa's prosperity and universal education, we'll still have work to do. The girl child is lagging far behind in science, math, and technology enrollment. It's a gender gap our continent can't afford, and some innovative programs at lower levels are trying to overcome early. Now, we'll go on a short break, and Africa Today will be right back. Right, welcome back. The fulfillment of girls' right to education is first and foremost an obligation, a moral imperative. There is also overwhelming evidence that girls' education, especially at the secondary level, is a powerful transformative force for societies and girls themselves. Now, let me ask you, in Nigeria, for instance, several years ago, a highly placed lawmaker married a girl of about 13 years. That the society still sees her as an underage, that is not mature enough to be someone's wife and even to be someone's mother, as the case may be. Now, in what circumstance should society frown on that? And what extent should the society go to put a stop to things like that?
Oh, wow. So the first question, in what circumstance? I would say in every circumstance. In every single circumstance. Society should frown at child marriage in its entirety. There should be no permission for child marriage. And to your second question, society has a lot to do. Again, with due respect to people of other religions, right? We have a moral obligation to our families, to our girls, to the future. We cannot condone child marriage in Nigeria. Nigeria, if the population is unchecked, it's going to be the third biggest country in the world by 2050, I guess. Yeah. We need to reduce the total fertility rate. We need to plan for the future. Nigeria is the next best thing.
All right.
Europeans and everybody's coming to Africa. Nigeria is a good focus. If we don't get our population right, if we don't get child marriage under control, there might be a problem.
Okay, we'll come back. Now, joining us live from Norway is Indi Jobati of the Norwegian Center for African Women. Now, welcome on board, Jobati. Why is there so much pressure on the girl child in Africa?
Thank you for inviting me to this very important and crucial discussion around the girl child, because there has been lots of initiatives and discussions going on around the girl child and then making education accessible to girl child. But when we look at Africa as a whole, and we talk about more than 50% of our population are women, and in that we are also talking about girls, it is also crucial, very important to be able to build that balance of building our nation, because we cannot, as I always say, we cannot develop without bringing the other half, and that is women and then the girl child. Because there are lots of hindrances we have in Africa in terms of bringing girl child up to the same level as the boy child. Because we talk about access to education. But is there an access to education? What does that mean even? Because a lot of these girls, we would say they're equal opportunity for girls. Girls can go to school. But then again, let's look at the conditions that also deter them from reaching that level. Which is, you look at the mother, who is a woman, who is also being affected. And the poverty condition as well forces the mother or the parents to make a choice between the girl and the boy.
All right.
All
right, let me ask you this. Now, Africa is a very peculiar continent with cultures, tradition, and history as the case. As an African, at least you're familiar with how things go back home. Should cultures be discarded for the sake of bringing the girl child and the male child up on the same pedestal?
Yeah, but you see, we forget that culture is not static. Just look at Africa. Let's look at Africa years back and today. I'm sure you would agree with me there's a difference. Look at Nigeria you are in right now. There are lots of changes and difference. So we shouldn't hide behind culture just to oppress the other side. Because if it means for the better, it is for the betterment of the country. It is for the development of the country. If you take more than half of your population and put them inactive, oppress them and keep them aside, what kind of development are we talking about? What are we talking about? More than half of your population are not given the opportunity, they don't have the opportunity, they don't have the access. We cannot talk about development because even the issue around culture is not just even a cultural issue. It is a developmental issue. Because if we are to move on as Africa, as a continent, we have to take this issue serious. It shouldn't be just by paper, signing to it, and then accepting it, and then whatnot. It has to be taken very seriously. And culture is in the center of it because the way we think. That's what brought all this situation we are today. Okay. Where the girl or the woman is being seen as just incapable.
Okay. All right, Ndi, let me ask you this again. Now, how differently should the girl child be treated?
I think for the fact that for many years the girl child didn't have the opportunity, I think there should be more access to education. I'm not saying access for the sake of it because I think we're just tired of it. I mean, create the opportunity and the environment where these girls can have access to education, whereby their parents can afford to send these girls to school, because some of these parents can't even afford to send these children to school. And if they have a choice between a boy and a girl, culturally they would take the girl because the boy would be married off to another man, and that man probably come and help them or take care of them. So there should be also an opportunity for the parents to be able to afford it. Because these also are things that have never been taken care of. People talk about, okay, they can go to school, free education. Even the education is not free. I'm sure you know it even in Nigeria. You say free education, you buy books. Sometimes chairs, you will bring it into the school. Tables, you will bring it to the school. So these are all these things I think our government has to look at it and then make it easier for the families to release these girls to school. Even to drop out, to make sure that these girls don't go halfway and drop because of the burden the parents are having. So all this has to go deeper than that, deeper than just access, deeper than just signing accords and agreement, deeper than that.
All right. Now, before you go finally, let me ask you this. You talked about, you said earlier on, there's been conferences, there's been charters signed by different countries on this, as the case may be. Now, how differently can we orientate the people, the mindset of Africans to believe in the girl child?
I think there's, as one of your speakers has just said, more awareness, and then make people aware even from the early age that young boys have to accept the fact that girls are equal to boys. We are not saying that they're changing their gender, a boy would be a girl. But what we are saying that a girl can be as smart as a boy, a girl can be a president, a girl can become a minister, a girl can be a politician. We've seen those even in Nigeria. We've seen how many women also have risen up. We've seen it in the continent. We've now seen a president. So these are these things that have to start right from the ground, from the young boys, to make sure they get that we are living in a new age, and culture is not static. It has changed. And African culture has changed. We are wearing suits that have never been part of our culture. Those things have changed. We are riding cars that have never been in our culture. It has changed. So why is it that when we talk about change in terms of the way we treat women or girls, it becomes our issue? We are citizens of this continent, and we have a role to play. We are part of this continent, and that has to be accepted.
All right. Thank you very much, indeed, for joining us on the program today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. There hasn't been, we've been watching, and people have been advocating against violence against girls, violence against women, and so on. But we certainly don't see much of persecution against anyone who is found carrying out any kind of violence against or harassment against girls or against women. Why is that?
Okay. I'll tell you something. Sometimes the woman is abused by her husband, and she's shy. She doesn't want to dispose information and give it to you. Why? Why do you think so? Because she knows that, look, if you lock my husband up, who's going to do this? Who's going to cater to this? These are the issues. Or if you lock my husband up, what's my mother-in-law going to say? Do you understand? So you see this woman, she's taking all the beating she can take because she knows that these are the issues. So there's so many things, there's so many factors involved. A lot of people don't even report it, you know? And even when they report it, they'll be like, oh, no, we're just reporting. Please don't prosecute him, or he's the father of my children. These are the things we see in Nigeria and probably across Africa as well.
It's okay.
You
now,
know?
we often talk about girl, child, and so on. Are there specific age brackets we're referring to when we're talking about the rights of the girl, child, as the case may be?
Okay, technically, a lady, she's a girl until she's 18. Okay, and she cannot be married. She shouldn't be married until she's 18. She can't vote until she's 18, and can't get a driver's license and all that. So anybody under 18 is a girl, and should be treated as such in terms of marriage.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I see. Our guest from there talked about hindrances generally. Now, this hindrance, you also mentioned it earlier on.
Yeah.
These things have been with us. Is there any? How can these things be changed? How can there be a transformation on the continent?
The first thing is to make information accessible to everybody. Men and women, fathers and mothers, grandmothers, grandfathers.
But
tell them this is bad. And tell them why.
It seems they know. Everyone knows these things are bad.
You'll be shocked the way you make things to people. There's a way to present things to people. I'll tell you something. I was in New York 2 weeks ago, and McCann Health Global announced a $5 million commitment to the Kwara State government to develop context-specific messaging that will hit the point. It's not just important to just put billboards and say, hey, don't do this because it's bad. Tell them why it's bad. Tell them why if they change their ways, this will happen, and it's good for them. People don't study marketing strategy in universities for nothing. There's a way to communicate your message, okay? If you're going to hit the target, your message has to be driven by metrics, by research, such that when you tell people, they'll be like, oh, wow, I didn't see it in that way. That is the point. We need a newer form of advocacy. We need a newer form of communications that will hit the mark, that will get people thinking, I'm like, oh, wow, that's true. Yes. You might think, oh, the space is saturated with information. Well, I'll tell you, it's not saturated with the right type of information.
Okay.
Empower people with the right type of information, create an awareness using the right media, and trust me, people will start to rethink their attitudes and their culture.
Okay, now you are of the Wellbeing Foundation, as
Yes.
the case may be, and they advocate for every woman and every child, as the case may be.
Yeah.
What are you doing differently to, add your own quota to that?
Okay, So basically, we believe that when a woman is empowered with information, when the care of a child and a family is in her hands, she stands in a better position to improve lives. So we have this small booklet called the Personal Health Record, which is a client's health record, i.e. the mother owns it, and she holds it, and she keeps it. And if, for instance, she moves from Niger State to Benue State, she takes it along with her. Basically, it's meant to take information the moment she falls pregnant, right, up until when she delivers a baby, until the child is 5 years old. And so when she sees the boxes, she knows, oh, it's time for my next DPT immunization for my daughter. Oh, it's time for the yellow fever immunization. She's reminded because the book is with her. She might not be literate enough to know what DPT means, but if the health officer says, look, ma, this next box has to be filled in the next 2-3 weeks. Can you please come? She'll be like, yeah, sure. And she remembers that. And trust me, Nigerian women are very caring. Nigerian mothers are absolutely fantastic. And they don't joke with their children. Trust me. And if you tell a woman, look, these are the 3 boxes for the immunizations, come to take this in a few weeks, they will show up. So we know that by empowering people with that health record, it's a small booklet, people will seek healthcare, people will come for antenatal visits, people will insist that they have their deliveries taken by skilled birth attendants.
It's all right. Thank you very much, Dr. King Luther Fashing, for joining us on the program.
You're
today.
welcome. You're welcome.
And we also thank Ndi Jobathi from Norway, who joined us earlier on as well. Now, as the International Day of the Girl Child 2013 comes to a close, I cannot but think of these girls and wonder what maps their own daughters will draw someday. I envision better homes for electricity and plenty of clean water. I also imagine that their chores will always be less important than their education, and that their communities will not tolerate only the men. I also imagine things the way they should be, with themselves attending university, speaking boldly and confidently, even with boys, and being valued by all of us for the full spectrum of who they are. When you protect and treat a girl child right, you help to make her bold, brave, smart, kind and sporty, and help her speak out against injustice, which in turn will protect tomorrow, today and forever. Until the next one, I am Mike Okwacha. Always remember, this is Africa. Bye for now.